If you're thinking about moving to Calgary, you've probably heard all the great things the city has to offer. But like anywhere else, Calgary definitely has its pros and it has a few cons. In this video, I'm going to break down the real pros and cons of living in Calgary so you can decide whether it's the right fit for you. We'll talk about housing affordability, job opportunities, the lifestyle, and a few things that tend to surprise people once they move here. Hi, I'm Ravi Bihal, a local realtor here in Calgary. I make weekly videos about living in Calgary, the real estate market, and what it's actually like once you relocate here. So if you're thinking about making the move to Calgary, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Let's dive right in. One of the biggest reasons and advantages of why people are moving to Calgary is housing affordability. While prices have increased over the past few years, Calgary is still significantly more affordable than cities like Toronto or Vancouver. Right now, detached homes typically range anywhere between $550,000 to $800,000 on average. Townhomes can start as low as $350,000, and condos are typically starting anywhere around the $250,000 range, depending on building and location. Now, to put that into perspective, detached homes in Toronto's average in around $1.3 million and Vancouver $1.8 million. Because of that difference, many people are relocating from Ontario and BC are often surprised by how much further their budget can stretch in Calgary. I see this a lot when I'm working with my clients. They're often able to get a larger space or a larger yard compared to where they were living before. Another huge advantage of living in Calgary is the proximity to the Rocky Mountains. One of the best things about living here is the world-class outdoor destinations that are incredibly close. Banff National Park is about an hour away from Calgary, so that means easy access out to the mountains. So that could be for skiing, for hiking, snowboarding, camping, mountain biking, or just spending time enjoying the mountains and the lakes. Now, people take a lot of advantage of going out there for the weekends because it's so close. For many people who move here, that outdoor lifestyle becomes a huge part of why they choose to stay longer. Calgary has historically been known as an energy city, with oil and gas playing a huge part of our local economy. While that industry is still very important here, Calgary's economy has become more diverse over the past few years. There has been a significant growth in industries like technology, finance, logistics, construction, and a lot of those companies are either expanding or relocating to Calgary because operating costs are generally lower than cities like Vancouver and Toronto. Because of this, Calgary continues to offer strong job opportunities across many industries. Now, if you're watching this video and thinking about moving to Calgary, what's the biggest reason you're considering the move? Is it housing affordability, job opportunities, the lifestyle, or maybe the proximity to the mountains? Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested in finding out where people are relocating to Calgary from and what's motivating their move. Now let's talk about one of the biggest challenges some people experience when they move to Calgary, the winter weather. Calgary's winters can definitely be cold, and during the winter months, temperatures can often drop between -10 and -20, and occasionally we can get cold snaps where temperatures are dropping below -30 or even colder. However, there's something pretty unique about Calgary winters that most newcomers don't know, and it's our Chinook winds. Chinooks are warm weather patterns that come over the Rocky Mountains and move across the city. When they arrive, the temperature can increase dramatically within a few hours. So it's not unusual to see a -15 day in the morning jump up to +3 later in the afternoon. Now, during these Chinooks, snow can melt incredibly quick, and of course, it's a nice break from the cold. Now, the downside from this is a lot of people experience Chinook headaches because of the rapid pressure change. Another thing to consider is that Calgary has experienced significant population growth in the recent years. A lot of people have been relocating here across Canada, especially from Ontario and British Columbia. Now, while that growth has been great for the city's economy, it has increased our demand for housing. As a result, home prices have risen compared to the last few years, as we discussed before, and things like rental market has also tightened in parts of the city. Now, Calgary is still more affordable than other major cities in Canada. However, the market has just become more competitive than it used to be. Now, one of the biggest advantages of living in Alberta is our tax structure. Alberta does not have provincial sales tax, which means that residents only pay 5% GST on most purchases. In many other provinces across Canada, people are paying between 12 and 15% combined tax compared to Alberta. Over time, that difference can add up and make everyday purchases definitely more noticeable. Another thing that surprises newcomers in Canada is how spread out the city is. Calgary is actually a very large city geographically, with many communities located outside and away from the core. Because of that, driving is very common here, and commuting distances can be longer depending on where you live. So public transportation does exist with Calgary Transit. However, it's not quite as extensive as systems like you may see in Toronto. So many residents, owning a car becomes part of your everyday lifestyle. There are a few things that also catch people by surprise when they move here. One of them is that Calgary is one of the sunniest cities in Canada, with more than 330 days of sunshine per year. Another unique feature is something called our Plus 15 system in downtown Calgary. These are indoor skywalks that connect many downtown offices and range up to 16 kilometers connected. And of course, Calgary weather. If you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. That tends to be a famous saying because in Calgary, you tend to see different weather patterns throughout the day. Now overall, one of the biggest reasons why people move to Calgary is our quality of lifestyle. The city offers a great balance between urban living and outdoor lifestyle, where you have access to parks, pathways, natural spaces, quick access to the mountains and the river. Calgary is also known for being relatively clean and promotes family-friendly communities. For many people who live here, the balance between affordability, career opportunities, and lifestyle is what makes Calgary an attractive place to live long-term. Now, if you're seriously considering moving to Calgary, the next thing you'll want to do is understand what it actually costs to live here. I have another video breaking down the full costs of living in Calgary, and I recommend watching that next so you can get a clearer idea of what your monthly expenses might look like if you move here. And if you're thinking about moving to Calgary and want help figuring out which neighborhoods, pricing, where to start, I help with that regularly. And if you're thinking about moving to Calgary and want help figuring out neighborhoods, pricing, or where to start, feel free to reach out. I regularly help people relocate to Calgary across Canada internationally, and I'm always happy to answer any questions or help you plan your move. You can reach me through any of my contact information in the link below.